Now, for those who think, the Constitution or anything like that is important, what's before the Constitution is the Declaration of Independence. That is actually a legal document. And what it says is when any government, any in the entire world, including the United States government, becomes destructive of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. We have legal authority to succeed from the United States as a state, and if Congress can claims that they're Christians, which 90% of them do, the Bible says we have that right because it says if your unbelieving spouse wants to divorce you, you are to let them do so, right? So what's the first one? Life. They're murdering their own people. Now, if you're in construction out in the sun all day, you're literally sweating. And the government is taking a third of your sweat, and then they're using that money to fake moon landings, right? To kill Kennedy, and to pay the salaries of the CIA agents who murdered Virgil Grissom because he wouldn't participate in the moon landing fraud. Does anybody care? Then there's a liberty, this little thing we went through for the last 3 years, right, Mike? They said you cannot have more than 4 people in your house at your son's birthday party. If you have 5, then we're going to turn off the electricity and we're going to drag you off to jail. Now, wait a minute. If one person is telling another person, I thought we had a government of the people, by the people, for the people, what they can and cannot do in their house with the doors closed, then that's slavery, not freedom. If one person tells you you can't open your business, that's slavery, not freedom. And then they had the audacity to say you can't go to church when it says in the Constitution that the government will not establish or prohibit the free exercise of religion. They said you cannot have a wedding. Then they said you can have a wedding, but you can't dance. They said you can't go to church. Then they said you can't go to church, but you can't sing. That is slavery, folks. Hello? I don't care if 9 out of 10 people are dropping dead. It's your right to go out and shop under those circumstances and to open your business under those circumstances because there's still 10% of the population that needs tuna fish and toilet paper. You can advise us, but this is slavery. It's unbelievable. So they're destructive of life, they're destructive of liberty, and if going to church is your happiness, then or opening your business, then they're destroying, your right to happiness. This is the federal government. This is 100 to 1,000 times worse than what King George did. And does anybody care about it? So the number one tool, according to NBC News Director, of bringing down the corruptive government, the corruption in the government, is to tell them the moon landing fraud is fake. Even though they may have killed fewer people than any other, you know, scheme that the government did, it will enrage the public. Both political parties participated in the moon landing fraud. Democratic Johnson was there, according to my eyewitness, and Republican Nixon gave it the thumbs up. Sounds like a great idea. You see that? If the public became aware, they were duped. They were played for suckers. You would think, Mike and Bear, that I've had every revelation there is to have about the moon landing fraud. Wrong. I'm still having them. 5 days ago, I wake up with another revelation. They didn't fake the moon landing just one time. I mean, I knew this, that they faked it 6 times, but it dawns on me, that's just so arrogant. I mean, they didn't just fake it once and that was it. They faked it again and again and again and again and again to milk more money to treat us like suckers. And I think there will be people like Jon Stewart and Bill Maher who, if Trump shows the world they faked the moon landing, they'll say, give the guy a chance. I didn't realize it was that bad. So don't be afraid of telling the public that the moon missions are fake. If the president does that, he is complicit with it, right? The truth sets us free. Therefore, lies make us slave. You can tell the truth about JFK and MLK and 9/11, but if you don't tell the truth about the moon landing fraud, we're still slaves. We need a new beginning, and it's the one disclosure that will cause that to happen and get public support from both parties to the president. we've made a god of science. And the pinnacle of the god of science is the moon landing fraud. I talked to a college professor teaching aerospace at one of America's most prestigious universities. I showed him all this proof that they didn't go. He says, "Look, Bart, you'll never be able to convince me that the glorious moon landings are fake." And I said, "Well, what about this? What if you saw one of the Apollo astronauts on national TV tearfully confessing that the moon missions were fake?" He said, "I'd still think he walked on the moon anyway." So we have this emotional attachment to it that prevents people from seeing the truth. The ancient texts say pride prevents you from seeing the truth. And at the beginning of A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon, which is at Sibrel.com, see it for free, we open up with the Tower of Babel to reach the heavens. It was never finished. A historic person once said, "If you build a tower and you don't finish it, you're proclaiming your foolishness." Then we show the largest machine ever built by the hand of man, the Titanic, which said in print, the ship that God himself could not sink. Tower of Babel never finished. Titanic never made one voyage. And then Nixon, who didn't have the guts to show up for the first launch, but the second one he did after they got away with it, said putting a man on the moon is second in greatness only to God making the universe when he knew they weren't there. This is a blasphemous claim by a country that started out great that has fallen farther than we can imagine. Even anti-corruption podcasters believe the moon landings are real. They're defending their own criminals who they hate. It has to be shown it has gotten that bad. If this is released, the public will go, ah. You'll hear a pin drop. It will be like a cold glass of water being thrown in every American's face. They wake up, they realize they've been sleepwalking for years. And then they look down and they're 1 foot away from a cliff. The moon landing fraud is the best and most powerful weapon to bringing down the deep state. Don't be afraid to use it. It's the key tool to showing people how bad it has become. People have made a god out of it. That needs to be destroyed as well if you believe in the real God. So that's the truth. As sad as it is, I defended the moon landings as long as I possibly could. But when I popped in that tape and saw them faking part of the moon mission right in front of my eyes, I just teared up. I'm like, wow, they really did fake the moon landing. How sad is that? And because the faking of the moon landing is more profound than if they really went, we can't have a cure for cancer being hidden. The public has to know the truth, or our government and the world will never go forward.